Hello there, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, no matter where you're calling from. It's great to see you in today's session. For those of you who this may be your first webinar, my name is Mike. I'm one of the co-founders here at Waybook. And in today's session, we're going to be running through the core updates that are out and about in your Waybook profile since we last spoke, which was a month ago. So this is everything that's going out in July. And for those of you who are here and have been here many times, welcome back. I can see many familiar names. So good to see you once again if you are returning. Now, what we like to do here is keep this as interactive as possible. So please feel free to say hello in the chat. Perhaps say hello and where you're calling from. We always have a great international bunch here. I'm in London. If anyone wasn't aware, I've had it recently that lots of people have thought that I'm Australian, which if you did think I'm Australian, unfortunately I'm not. I'm British, and I perhaps need to work on my British accent if this many people think I'm Australian. But anyway, that's not why we're here. Welcome, welcome. We've got people from Toronto, from St. Louis, Molly in Hertfordshire. Hello, very close. It's good to see you all coming in. So. In today's session, we're going to go through some of the updates. Some are big, some are small, some we're not mentioning, but you would have noticed they'll be out in your account. But the core things we're covering today are the big one is recurring deadlines. So we're going to jump into recurring deadlines. This isn't yet actually released. It's currently in beta for some Waybook accounts. If anybody wants immediate access to this, you can let us know and it will be on within minutes. And then, of course, we will be rolling this out over probably the next week. We're also going to be looking at news and polls notifications. Emily, you've just said hello there from Iowa. I mentioned news and polls last time, and you instantly, I believe it was you, was like, what about notifications? Well, the spoiler alert, they're out. We also have done probably the final set of updates we're doing on news and polls for this initial part of the release, which is you can now schedule and unschedule. We've got some improved ask feedback responses from search and also some optimizations on audit log for those of you who do use your audit log. So let's dive straight in. As you may know, if you're here, keep this as interactive. If you've got thoughts, if you've got questions, if there's something you love, there's something you hate, chuck it in the chat. And I'm keeping my eyes and ears on both the chat and the Q&A for anyone who is getting involved. Okay, so let's dive straight into recurring deadlines. Now, what are recurring deadlines? We really wanted to focus on this because actually, basically, a lot of people are in Waybook. Yes, to create that single source of truth. Yes, to make sure their team work on the same page. And ultimately, a lot of that is about compliance. Compliance is a boring and sometimes bad word, but it's about making sure that our teams are compliant with the information. Now, Waybook certainly does that, but sometimes if people have been in the piece of information for a while, been in the business for a while, you might have a regulatory requirement to keep people up to date, to make sure that people do the health and safety every year, to make sure people are re-looking at certain policies. But also there is just the need for that continuity of knowledge and that freshness of knowledge. So you've always been able to do this in Waybook. You can just reset for people where you can reassign or do an update. But now the name gives it away. You can actually have recurring deadlines. So recurring deadlines are essentially a way for you to automatically create a recurring deadline on either a document or on a learning path. And we'll dive into that in just a moment. So you can set three things: your recur, your reset, and your grace period, which I'll look into in just a moment. And the way you do that is it's currently in beta, so you can get access to that on request, and it will be rolled out to all pro accounts moving forward. So let me jump into a Waybook document. The regulars amongst you will be perhaps bored of this Waybook. I maybe need to make up a new business rather than Studio 6, but it feels like home for many of us. So let me look into a document. I've just created a document within policies, which is our holiday policy. Now, the reason why I wanted to focus on this holiday policy was because actually, when I first heard the request for recurring deadlines, this was the reason that somebody had. So they said, Mike, every year in about December the 5th, all of our team ask us the same question. How can I roll, like, how many days holiday can I roll over? And HR get inundated with the same question, and they constantly have to say whatever their policy was. You can roll over 5 days holiday, you can't do it, whatever that may be. So let's say we've got the policy. Everybody will go through in the same way. They all get themselves up to speed. They'll do what that is. They'll know those carryover rules. They'll complete the test if you've got that test on. This was AI generated, so I actually probably would fail this test. I'm going to save myself that embarrassment. But now let's move into our edit mode and head into settings. We can head to deadlines. Now we will want to set a deadline for this document. And because it is a time in the year that we want things to be done, we can set a specific deadline. So before those questions come in on December, the first week of December, I'm actually going to do that for the last day of November. So 30th of November, everybody needs to have completed that. Now, as long as they've got required access to that document, it doesn't have to be in a flow or anything. That deadline is on that piece of information, and everybody will now get that notification. It will be on their up next as that comes. It will be in their email summaries, things like that. So that's great. But what about next year, I hear you cry? And that's where you can turn on recurring deadlines. Now, for a recurring deadline, you can set your recurring period. So this basically says, well, I want people to do this every year. Of course, you can make that every day if you wanted, which I wouldn't recommend. You can make that every month, every quarter, whatever you want, every 10 years. And then the second thing you look at is your reset period. So obviously when a document becomes due, you don't want people to have access and reminded on that due day and say, look, you have to complete this today. You might want to give them a bit of a period in order to do that. And this is the reset period. So we can say 1 month. And what that basically means on the 30th of October, that will become reset. The document will need to be completed and they'll have 1 month in order to do that. Now, to get one layer advanced, and many people wouldn't need to do that, is you can actually set a grace period. Now, what a grace period is basically if somebody's done their onboarding flow in, let's say September, and actually you know that they've just completed it, you don't necessarily need them to go through this once again and get themselves up to speed. So you can basically say, I want to reset this a month before the deadline, unless they've completed it in the last 3 months, and then I don't need them to do that. So that is your recurring period. We don't expect many people to be using Grace because you don't need it. But if you're onboarding lots of people at different times, then you perhaps might want that. Now, you also have the relative deadlines. So the relative deadline is from when that person gets access to that document. So you might say from, within 3 months of them getting access to any of the documents, that's when the relative deadline is set. And then you can also set a recur on that relative deadline. So if you don't have something like a holiday policy, but you have something like their medical confirmation check or whatever that may be, you can say, well, look, every year after you joined, you need to redo that. And that's how you enable that. Now, that's all well and good, but we know that for relative deadlines, most people will actually do that in a learning path. So with your learning path, let's say, I mean, these probably aren't great examples because they're onboarding paths, but let's say we have a health and safety learning path, and that might be all of the relevant security protocols, fire protocols, things like that. Now, the benefit of having it as in a learning path is you stitch all of those documents together, you order it, and you can basically then enable the deadline. Now, by default, the deadlines are recurring because people are coming into these learning paths at different ways, different times. So we can say we want everybody to complete this on the first day. Then we want people to do these documents on the second day. And that will basically stagger out the deadlines on the learning path. Now, exactly the same as how you would manage that on a document, you can also manage that on a learning path. So we say this health and safety kind of checklist, they might have to do it within the first month of being in the business. And then actually we want them to do that every year, reset 1 month in advance, and perhaps if they've not done it again within the 3 months. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is your recurring deadline update. We're really excited about it. We know the people that we've tested this with, that we've built this with, are super excited and getting lots of value out of it. And of course, you can use it in lots of different ways, whether that be for compliance, whether that be for knowledge retention and updates as well. So that is your recurring deadlines. Any thoughts or questions? Put them in the chat. Now, let's move on to news and polls notifications. So you know the reason why we have news and polls in the business in Waybook, and that's really to extend out that single source of truth. We see people wanting to share updates and information and insights, or gather those essential pulse checks from their team, but it shouldn't really live in a document. So we've recently launched both news and polls, which you may or may not have seen in previous sessions. But now we can have a boosted response to those news and polls by actually setting up the notifications on them. So what this is when you publish that news and poll, it will actually automatically notify that member. It will both email them, go into the summary, and also be in their notifications tab in their Waybook. And that means that you can publish, share, and you can receive those reactions. Now, this is something that is automatically enabled. It's on all of your accounts and it is accessible and manageable within your organization. So I'm just going to jump back into the Waybook to show you that. Actually, I won't show you that because it's a notification, so I won't be able to show you that. You just need to know that a notification is sent. But one thing I can show you regarding news and polls is our schedule. So I actually encountered this very quickly after we launched news and polls. We were onboarding a new team member and I created a nice news welcoming Miguel to the team. And actually Miguel was due to start the following Monday. This was on, I think, the Wednesday. But I thought, oh, I need to remember to publish that on Monday. I didn't want to publish it before he got there. And that's all just a lot of admin and a lot of work and things for me to remember. So we have now enabled you to be able to optimize the planning and management of your news and polls. So now you can schedule a publish date for your news and polls, but crucially, you can also schedule an unpublished date for your news and polls. So say, for example, you want to throw up a message and pin it there because you're doing a particular celebration that week, or you've got something that's time sensitive from a poll. If you wanted, you can remove that on a schedule as well. Now, this is available in all accounts. It is something I can show you. And once again, you manage that within your organization. So if I head over into organization, we can go down to either news or polls. And if we go into this poll here and I go into the edit mode, now what I can do, I'll actually just need to switch that to draft. And here I can just set a publish date. So I am now going to set that publish date for, let's say, the client win, but we're not announcing it until tomorrow. So I'll set that for tomorrow and I'll save it. And because actually we don't want to clog up our news or have those polls active, you can also set an unpublished date. So I'm just going to have that available for a month and then I will remove that. So once I publish that, the dates are available, it's all locked in, and that will just throw things up, obviously send the notifications, and then pull things down as and when you want it. So again, news and polls are being used quite a lot across Waybook. So if you've not used it, then maybe you consider throwing up a news article or a polls or an announcement or something like that. Amazing. Right, let's move on. So this is a smaller one, but actually it has quite a big impact, particularly if you're utilizing the feedback in reports on your document optimization. So we have an improved feedback module for Ask. So the reason why it is important for people to give feedback on your documents and on your search results is really it kind of helps us have that feedback loop. It enables us to know what people are understanding, what they're not understanding, the questions that they're asking. And really, once you've got the bare bones of information within your Waybook, that's just the knowledge owners, the knowledge managers' cue to continually optimize and really to lean into this knowledge-centric culture. So what this is basically giving your readers a much easier, faster way of giving feedback during your searches. And all of those searches are then visible within reports. So this is automatically on, it's available in all accounts, and you'll see that both in search and in reports. So let me just show you where that lives. So of course, in an actual document, so if I go into this holiday policy, I can actually give feedback on this. So if I have a question, it's just neutral because it's a question, I give positive, negative feedback. I might say, I don't understand XYZ, right? That saves my creativity from embarrassing myself. Right, so that feedback will obviously get submitted to the document owner. In this case, that's also me, which is very handy. So actually, I will now receive a notification, and when I go into the comments and activity, I get that notification. I can see what people have said. I can do internal notes. I can do whatever's necessary. So that is your feedback on documents. But what we're talking about here is feedback on search and on ask. So if I ask a question, and that might be, let's do it. How many days and holiday do I have? Or I could have asked that question, how many days can I move over into the next year? And obviously it will take me to that carryover holidays or how to book holidays. But of course the AI ask will just answer the question. Oh, 25, perfect. Perfect, that's great. But you'll see here, this is new. So I can now say whether that did or didn't answer my question. Since putting that up, we've actually noticed that a lot more searchers are using thumbs up, thumbs down to answer the question. And where we can use that is obviously in reports. So if you head into reports, we head into search insights, and we can go through here and we can see what people are searching for, what people are asking, whether or not they're rating that as good or bad, whether or not we're seeing those, those search results with answers or not. And if we're seeing questions that are getting good responses, that's reinforcing. We know it's getting within the team. If we're seeing questions with poor responses, then we want to go into the document and make sure that we're explicitly answering the questions that people are asking for. So that is, ladies and gentlemen, your improved ask feedback. And look, you've got all of the tools there. So you have the data, you have the insights, you have the notifications. We're asking your team whether or not they're getting what they want. Definitely just set some time aside. We like to personally, I put a schedule for the knowledge that I own, where I'll literally just look at that kind of 10 minutes every couple of weeks, and then just make these small micro tweaks that kind of keep the knowledge as the product of the business as much as the services and products that you're actually selling. And then the final thing that we're going to go through is our audit log improvements. So audit log is a pro tool. It basically is all of your data, everything you're doing, and kind of curating and collating all of that information. Now, it's really valuable for lots of people because it enables you to have a high level, but also detailed view of how your knowledge is being managed across who does what, where that works, what changes have been made. But actually, it really enables you to have that increased, stronger audit and compliance. So if documents have been deleted or perhaps merged or changed or whatever that may be, you can see everything that happens across your knowledge within your audit log. Now, the change that's been made is really to increase the granularity on those publish events. So we noticed that some people were seeing publish, and even though we were showing whether it was a big or a small publish or what that was, we've now increased that granularity. Now, as mentioned, audit log is a pro feature. It obviously stores a lot more data, and it's really for special measures where people really like to have that holistic overview. But if you are pro, then it is accessible within your reports, which I'll head into now. And if I go into the bottom here, into reports, I've got audit log. And what you'll be able to see here is what has and hasn't been published, all of these updates, things that are marked as complete. But crucially, you'll see the change that it's either a minor change to holiday policy or a major change where people have been notified and it's gone out. So that brings us to the wrap up of the few things that we're talking about today. Really, recurring deadlines is the big one, but you'll also have noticed a lot of small tweaks, optimizations, a few speed improvements, which have gone out into Waybook in July as well, and lots more. So what is that lots more? I hear you cry. We're always going, we're always building. Now, this one has been at the top of what I'm teasing you with for, I believe, 2 sessions. And boy, is it close. It's basically our gamification and achievements. So very, very soon, you will be having achievements within your Waybook. These achievements are basically to encourage your readers to use Waybook in a healthy way. So this might be number of searches, number of documents viewed, getting to 100% completion. And we are basically giving you some nice little badges that people will have on their profile. And of course, you'll be able to see what other people, as a manager, what other people have achieved, what they haven't achieved. So we've got this in some testing, and it's been having some great results in terms of that usage from your reader side. And we all love a little badge. I'm fully addicted to my Apple Fitness badges and achievements. So if people can be as excited about a fraction of excited about the Waybook badges as I am about my Apple Fitness ones, then all of our systems will be much, much better. So that's something that's coming out soon. It's actually fully in and working. Just a little insight. We're just doing final touches to the design of badges, and that's definitely me slowing it down rather more than I should do. The second thing, which we have coming out very, very soon, is being able to view test submissions. So we've noticed that since being able to one click add a test to a document, lots more people are actually adding tests for that additional confirmation that people actually understand the information that you're sharing. So what you're now able to do very shortly is not just see have they passed or not and what percentage they passed by, you'll actually be able to see what answers did they give. So if you have a test which only requires a 50% pass rate, you'll be able to look into that and actually see what people are getting right or wrong. Also, even if you have a test that has a 100% pass rate and somebody fails the test once, two, three times, you can actually look into that test and see what they are and aren't getting right. And of course, all of that insight just feeds back into this knowledge centric culture, having that feedback loop of saying, well, a lot of people are getting that wrong. So maybe we should make that a little bit more explicit in our information. And then that is merely just a precursor to multiple new test types. So you'll be very aware that the current main use of tests or quizzes or assessments, however you want to call them, is multiple choice. But watch this space, ladies and gentlemen, because we have, I believe it's 6 different test types, from file upload to small text entry to essay form to matching things together. We're really excited about it. So it's going to be uplifting your ability to confirm people's knowledge, but also it's going to be making sure that people are able to interact with your Waybook and your knowledge in a much more engaging and dynamic way. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a lot more in the pipeline that is being sped through on our side, but these are the key things that you can look forward to. And that brings us to the end of today's session. So I'd like to thank you all once again for joining. If this is your first time, come back. It's great to see you. And if you are coming back, then I look forward to seeing you next month. If you've got any thoughts or questions, now's the time in the chat or in the Q&A. If something pops up into your mind just after this, please feel free to message me, message the team, chat in support, whatever you do. We will always get back to you. And the final thing, if you did want to get access to the recurring deadlines, also send me a note and we'll get that turned onto your account in the beta testing. It is in the final stages. It's pretty robust. It's more actually we just want to get a bit more feedback before we roll it out. So thank you very much. That is the end of today's session. I'm going to go to the questions. So if you want to stick around for that, let's do it. Valentina, hello, welcome. So you got an off-topic question, one of my favorites. Is it possible to publish only document subsections within a category? That's a great question. Let me just realign what we're talking about with document subsections. So you don't need to use these words, but just these are the words we use. The top level here is a category. Within a category is a subject. Within a subject is a document. Within a document is a series of steps. Okay, we're done. Now, in order to publish is done on a document basis. And that basically makes sure that you have all of your versioning and response history, anything like that. So when you publish, you actually publish the whole document. There's no way to publish an individual step. So if you are making a small tweak to the document and you don't want to share all of that tweaks, you can just edit that one step and publish it. But the crucial thing is, if I make a change to one step, hello, which is obviously a very bad addition, and I do a major change to that, what will happen is I'll get a notification that I need to stay up to date, but crucially, it will only untick that one step. So that sort of is publishing an individual step or subsection, as you call it. It basically just means that no one's rereading 60 pages of PDF once you make a line tweak on page 49, right? So actually, this is the same principle in a much more friendly way. You're basically there just saying, look, this is the change, get yourself up to speed. mark that as complete, and you get up. Okay, Matt, you should be on this side of the webinar, and that's a great point. You can hide a step. So yeah, that's absolutely right. If you're making a change, actually, this is a much better answer, Matt. Thank you. If I'm like creating a new piece of information, and I'm like, oh God, this isn't quite ready. But I've made a change up here which is ready. You're absolutely right, Matt. You click on this three dot icon, you hide, and then anything that's hidden when you do that publish is not going to go live. So actually, I can go back into the reader mode. Boom, it's not there. So yeah, anything you're not ready to share, hide it. Just be aware that if you hide a step and you publish, it will hide the previous version of that step. So it won't just be the changes. Nice, thanks. Go team. Right, we've got another question from Brandon. Thanks for showing all the new stuff. You're welcome. Also off topic, love it. Let's lean in. What's the best way to go about a compliance document like handbook acknowledgement, media consent release, or other policies that you want to get a confirm acknowledgement and agreement to? That's a great question. Thanks, Brandon. So if I stay in this document here, I'm going to go into edit mode. Now, obviously, I've called this knowledge confirmation, but this is, oh, sorry, well, you've got your knowledge review, which is basically your tests. Now, if you wanted that additional step that got people to confirm, accept, agree, comply, whatever that may be, that is a knowledge confirmation step. So you can add that by clicking in the little triangle down here, and you can not add a test, you add a confirmation step. In this confirmation step, you can customize a few things. So we can say, all of this text, by clicking agree below, I acknowledge that I've read and understood the content of this document. What should it say on the checkbox? I confirm, I accept, I agree. And then obviously you change the button as well. So if we go into the reader of that, and I'll just reset this so you can see the full process. This is me. This is the basic one. I've not edited here. I can confirm, I go through, that will complete the document. Now, if you wanted one layer more than that, then what you can do on the knowledge confirmation is you can require a signature. Now, requiring a signature, and if I just publish that document there, we'll go back into edit. This is a relatively new addition, so I can confirm, but then I actually have to type my name. So I have to type Mike Bander, and the name has to be correct. So this basically acts, and because you've got all of the audit log and you've got all of the tracking, and we know who's done that, when they've done it, the login that they've got, that basically acts as that kind of compliant track, that confirmation. Now, confirmation step is a pro feature. Obviously, by nature, it is a pro feature and it's in our pro plan, but that is available in all pro accounts. Okay, how do I do there, Matt? Any additions? Brandon said thanks. I think team Matt and Mike are good there. Thanks so much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the session. If there's any other off-topic questions, please put them in because I'm here for it. I'm here for it all day. But I don't think there is. So I'd like to thank you all so much for joining. We are now sending these replays further and wider. So if you aren't live on this webinar and you're watching this on replay, come and say hello. It's fun. And until then, I hope you all have an amazing day. We really hope that you can continue to get your business on the same page with Waybook so we can all enjoy some smooth scaling. And until next time, I hope you have a great one. See you then.